Hey everybody, it's time for another Smashtalk, and as you've probably guessed by the title of this video, it's going to be about Namco. Uh, Namco is a pretty interesting development because up to this point, they hadn't really brought in, you know, a company like Namco to develop the game. I mean, they got composers from other areas for the music and stuff like that, but the actual development of the game was always like a Nintendo thing. So there's been a lot of speculation now as to whether Namco is going to get reps, how much the game's going to change, and all I gotta say is this: Sakurai is still in charge. Namco may be working on the game, but the team is working under Sakurai, and as such, Sakurai still gets the final say in everything, and what characters make it in, and all that. So we aren't necessarily going to get a Namco rep. Um, I think it's possible. I think it's likely. Uh, and I think it would be a good idea. But honestly, it may not happen. And there's been a couple quotes to back that up too. There's an article here. I'll link you to it here, where Namco says, uh, if they, if Sakurai doesn't ask them to put in a character, they're not going to do it. Like they're not planning to put in Namco characters. They're there to make the game. That's what they do. And they're not going to ask him for characters. They're not going to push for characters. He has to approach them. So really, it's going to be up to Sakurai, and we know that Sakurai is stingy on third parties, and that he said he's wanted a Capcom. It could be that Namco's not going to get a rep. Um, that's just my 2 cents on it. What I do think this is going to mean, though, uh, is that the game's going to be a lot more balanced, because I think that is why they were brought on. Because Sakurai said, he said that he wants to focus on making the game tighter. He wants to focus on improving what's already there, instead of just adding characters and doing what we have been doing. He wants to buckle down, and I think that's why Namco's here, because they have so much experience in making these fighting games that they're gonna make it balanced. They're gonna make a really good, clean fighting game, and some new influence might help, you know, actually make it be an improvement instead of just the last game with bigger rosters. I'm not saying there is something wrong with the previous games. I love them all, um, but it would be cool to see what Namco can bring to the table. Now, the one thing that I do think is going to be really exciting about it is the customization. He wants to bring customization into the next Smash game, and look no further than Namco. Look no further than Namco's Soul Calibur series. Just saying, look how insanely detailed the customization in the character creation is there. It's really, really good. And if we have something similar to that for creating characters, I'm going to be very, very happy. Uh, Now, if Namco does get a rep, I think there's a couple choices that stand out. Pac-Man being one of them. He is a huge, huge arcade character, and I think he's definitely a possibility. Will it be him? I don't know. He doesn't have any particular tie to Nintendo, really. Um, but he is an extremely iconic character, and Namco is working on the game, so I guess that could be it. But, he generally wants characters that have something to do with Nintendo. Uh, which is why I think Lloyd Irving from Tales of Symphonia is a good idea. Tales of Symphonia was it's been on Nintendo systems. It's a pretty popular series. The Tales series has been very, very popular and successful. And while not all of them have been Nintendo systems, for example, Tales of Vesperia, which I love, is on the 360. Uh, Tales of Symphonia was, so why not put in Lloyd Irving? Um, Other choices I've seen Klonoa, which I don't think is going to be in. Uh, Nothing against Klonoa, it's just I think they've got bigger characters than that, I suppose. But Klonoa could work. I just doubt that that's the one they're going to go with. You've also got other classic characters like Dig Dug and such, but I feel like Pac-Man's going to basically eclipse any arcade characters. Because, I mean, back from the arcade days, Pac-Man was the king. If they go with like a classic arcade rep and it isn't Pac-Man, it's just gonna feel weird, you know. Uh, what else? Dig Dug could be an amazing assist trophy though. That'd be hilarious. He he just he just inflates your enemies and they just like float up in the sky and then like burst and take damage or something. That'd be hilarious. That aside, um, other characters they could use. They could bring in fighters from other fighting games, but I really think that's not gonna happen. Um, The main reason being, none of these fighting games really have much to do with Nintendo in particular. You know, Tekken, Soul Calibur hasn't really been a Nintendo exclusive thing at any point. Um, so I don't think they're really going to see a rep from there. Not that there's something wrong with the characters, just like I said, I think you've got other choices. I think Lloyd Irving and Pac-Man and possibly Klonoa, who was Nintendo Systems, has a chance. Um, but like I said, I don't know if there's actually going to be a Namco character because, according to these articles and everything, it's not something that they're taking for granted, and Sakurai hasn't come out and explicitly said that he wants anything. So that's essentially my 2 cents. I know this is huge news, but I honestly don't have that much to say about it, mostly because Namco. I mean, I trust them, and I think that there's not that much room for speculation, or, well, I should say, there's not that much room for doubt when it comes to the fact that they're going to make a good fighting game. That's just what they do. So I'm really excited for it. Since this video is so short, though, I do want to touch on something else. There's a rumor that came out recently that the 3DS version is going to be called Super Smash Bros. Memories and is going to focus on a lot of classic characters. Pac-Man, Dig Dug. I think Mach Rider was in there. Either Mach Rider or Excite Biker. One of the two. Um, I honestly don't believe this rumor. Here's why. Well, first off, there was the whole article where they're like, yeah, we're not planning any Namco characters yet. So, I mean, if that thing has Namco characters in it, you know, there's that. But the biggest thing is, I don't think they're far enough in development to have a final roster yet. I think right now they're just tossing around ideas. They may not even be talking that much about characters yet. They're probably still just working on the engine. Because, I mean, you gotta consider, they're planning this for two systems that have not had a Smash game on it before. Um, they've never had a handheld Smash before. So they're gonna have to do something completely different with that. Sakurai wants the two games to be different, so they're probably still on the very basic, how are these games going to work? Because they haven't been developing for that long. The game's not going to be out for a few years. So I honestly don't think that we would get a rumor as complete as the Super Smash Bros. Memories rumor is yet. So I don't think it's going to happen. Another thing is, they said that you would be able to take the characters back and forth between the games. That if you had the 3DS version, you could take the classic characters and put it onto the main thing. Here's the problem with that. If you have classic versions of all the characters, how are you going to differentiate? How are you going to differentiate between a bunch of them? Uh, I mean, there's some things like Link, for example, where I suppose you could give him different things because he has so many items. It's so easy to diversify multiple Links, which is I really hope they do that with Toon Link. He can be diversified so much, but they haven't. Um, but I mean, when you take things like a classic Kirby, for example, the Kirby that we have basically does everything that classic Kirby would do. He flies, he sucks things up. There's not much you can do with having two versions of Kirby. So, for me, even though it's like kind of a cool idea, I just think logistically, it's a bit of a nightmare, and I don't think that the rumor's true. Of course, I can't know for sure because you can never know until it's actually somebody comes out and says it's false. But just my 2 cents, I would not believe that rumor. Um, Another thing, Sakurai has said that he wants to focus on improving the game and less on getting characters. Um, what's kind of cool is he did stick to the 50 character thing before, where he said he would love to get to 50 characters. It's just he's not sure if he's going to get there. My bet is honestly that we may not see a new Mario character. Uh, Along with potentially not seeing a new Zelda character, we may not see new characters in a lot of the big franchises. I'm gonna make a new video about that. Probably the one after this will be about that. Um, but just touching on it here, I think with the next game we're going to see reps from a few new series. We're gonna see, I think, Shulk. We're gonna see Little Mac, stuff like that. But I honestly don't think he's gonna add very much representation for franchises that we already have. I think a majority of the roster is going to stay the same. Um, just he's going to make up for the huge gap in time between the last Smash game and this one, and bring in some new characters from franchises that have recently established themselves. And hopefully a Capcom character. I pray to God that we get Mega Man. So those are my thoughts on that slew of subjects. And yeah, new Smash Talks will be coming out soon, and I will see you guys later.